Do you think you're being loving? Do you think you're building intimacy? Well, you might actually be doing the exact opposite. There are 7 innocent behaviors that slowly train your partner's brain to see you as anything except a sexual partner. And the more loving that you try to be, the faster you kill their desire for you. Do you remember when your partner couldn't keep their hands off of you? When they looked at you with that hungry look that made you feel desired and wanted? Now they find excuses. They're too tired. They're too stressed. They need to wake up early, or they go through the motions, but you can tell their heart isn't in it. Now, you've tried everything. You've been more romantic. You've planned very special nights. You've bought lingerie or tried new things. You've been more understanding about their stress, more supportive during those difficult times. You've worked harder to be the perfect partner, thinking that if you could just love them better, desire them more, show them how much they mean to you, things would go back to how they used to be. But instead of getting closer, you're drifting further apart. Instead of more passion, there's more distance. And you're starting to panic because you can feel something fundamental shifting in your relationship. The intimacy that once felt effortless now feels forced. The connection that used to be natural now requires work that never seems to pay off. The worst part is that you have no idea what you're doing wrong. You're being loving, supportive, understanding. You're doing everything the relationship experts tell you to do. So why is your partner pulling away instead of pulling closer? I'm Adam Lane Smith, the attachment specialist. I've spent 16 years of training and experience working with couples whose intimacy has been slowly dying. And I can tell you that in 95% of cases, it's not about attraction or compatibility or even love. It's about specific behaviors that trigger your partner's nervous system to categorize you as something other than a sexual partner. Most people have no idea that they're doing this. They think they're being loving, but their attachment style is driving behaviors that systematically destroy sexual desire. Now, the good news here is that once you understand what's happening, you can reverse it. The couples who learn these patterns don't just save their intimacy. They often end up with better sex lives than they had in the beginning. Now, your sexual relationship right now is dying. Every day that you don't understand what's happening, your partner's brain is building stronger associations between you and burden, you and obligation, you and everything except desire. And once that neural pathway solidifies, it becomes nearly impossible to reverse. But here's what happens when you catch this in time. You stop the behaviors that are poisoning your partner's attraction to you. You understand which of the 7 mistakes you're making before they become irreversible patterns. And you learn how to trigger the neurochemical responses that build desire instead of destroying it. This video today is not just about saving your sex life. It's about saving your entire relationship. Because when sexual intimacy dies, emotional intimacy follows. And when that happens, you become roommates who resent each other rather than lovers who can't get enough of each other. The couples who ignore this pattern end up in dead bedrooms, wondering how they went from passion to practically strangers. But the ones who master it, they build the kind of lasting desire that most people think is impossible in long-term relationships. 40 minutes from now, at the end of this video, you'll know exactly which side you're on. Now, of these 7 mistakes, I'm going to break the first couple of them down based on attachment styles. And if you're anxiously attached or quiet disorganized, you might do these first couple. If you're avoidantly attached or more loud disorganized, you might do the next set. Let's look at anxious attachment intimacy killers first. Mistake number 1, treating your partner like a therapist. Using your partner for emotional dumping, going into emotional crises, dumping every anxious thought and fear, endlessly being afraid and seeking constant connection and constant reassurance. It turns them not just into a therapist, but almost a parent. And thinking that this builds closeness is really common for anxious people because they feel closer, they feel more loving, and they feel more cared for. But we call this trauma dumping without boundaries, expecting the other person to comfort you and to manage your emotional state. Remember that we should be self-regulating about 70% of the time and co-regulating with all other humans about 30%. That means your partner might fit into let's say 15 to 20% of your co-regulation. That doesn't mean that they should constantly be caring for you endlessly and be the one thing preventing you from having a bad day. I know that a lot of men who are paired with anxiously attached women, their wife will say, "Oh, it's been a tough day." And a lot of men tell me in their head, they go, "Man, when is she ever going to have a good day?" And he just feels like he's caretaking her emotionally. Now, the neurobiological effect of this, they stop seeing you as a sexual partner. They start seeing you as that person I have to manage, that person who's always upset, almost like that child I have to comfort endlessly. This is not to say that your emotional needs are too much, but if you treat your partner as the one person on the planet that you're constantly dumping negativity at all the time and seeking constant reassurance, this is going to kill intimacy very quickly. Now, the second one is similar, but a little bit different. Mistake number 2 that a lot of anxious partners in particular use is using sex for reassurance and validation. Anxiously attached people use sex as a way to get emotional validation and feel loved rather than physical connection or bonding, intimacy. You seek comfort and reassurance because someone wants to have sex with you through that physical intimacy instead of a genuine shared desire. This turns sex into emotional work, often for the partner, or sometimes you just sit there and make them happy and they feel that, and it becomes an empty experience because you're like, okay, I'm getting enough because you want me. That makes it feel like another form of just caretaking. And sometimes the partner will say, I don't really want this, like dead fish experience is what they call it. I don't want that level of connection. That's not what I want at all. I want someone who's having fun. Your eyes are glazed over. I want someone who's having fun here too, right? A lot of partners actually stop because of this process. I get asked all the time, what is my attachment style? What is my attachment style? What is my attachment style? So I have finally launched the attachment assessment. This is not a short quiz that just spits out an answer after 3 seconds. This is a thorough, in-depth, science-backed assessment. Check it out on my website, adamlanesmith.com, and learn your attachment style, the severity of what you're dealing with, and some next steps you can take right now to build very secure attachment. I want to try an analogy with you, okay? A lot of the audience, you like animal analogies. It works. If you have a cat and it's constantly throwing up on your carpet and you have to clean up that mess all the time, and then when it sits with you, it doesn't even look at you or engage with you. It just sits with you. You pet it and it doesn't seem to respond, okay? You have an unaffectionate, constantly mess-making cat every single day, throwing up on your favorite things. It's going to hurt your relationship with that cat, right? It's going to make that a cat much less attractive. Your bonding with the cat way down. You might still love that cat, but man, every day I got to clean up after you. It's always my favorite shirt or my pants or my book. Everything I love, you are always throwing up on, and you never really want to connect with me. I have to seek you out to connect with you. It's exhausting. The more that you seek constant emotional reassurance and connection through your partner, the comforting, over comforting, the more they see you as needy rather than desirable, and connecting with you becomes emotionally exhausting. This does often kill a lot of sexual desire in relationships. Now, these are only the first 2 problems, but if you think that anxious attachment is the only intimacy killer, you are wrong. Avoidantly attached people destroy desire in a completely different way. And their method is actually more devastating because it makes their partner feel like they only matter for one thing. So here's 2 avoidant attachment intimacy killers. Mistake number 3, the first of them, only connecting in the bedroom. You are only connecting in the bedroom. Outside of it, you pretend you don't even know that person. You only connect in the bedroom. Every touch is sexual. Everything has to lead straight into sex immediately. You use distance to feel in control. Through silence, through pulling away, through dodging actual connection and intimacy. This is the heart of late stage avoidant love, not being emotionally available at all outside the bedroom while expecting sexual availability inside of it. That's not how it's supposed to work. That's a dopamine binging cycle. That's using your partner as a dopamine binge instead of having an experience shared with them. Now, let's hammer that in a little bit. Mistake number 1 is only being connecting in the bedroom. Mistake number 4 goes even deeper. total emotional unavailability, especially outside the bedroom. They don't just stop needing you outside the bedroom. Okay, that's not how that works. A partner needs emotional connection outside the bedroom to begin fueling sexual desire. If someone is not only present for sex and out, but they actively reject or refuse to engage at all outside, that's abandonment. That's what we call emotional abandonment. The other partner starts thinking, you only care about me in the bedroom, but you actually hate me outside the bedroom. Outside of that, I might as well be dead to you. This is when the desire really starts to die, because sex becomes fully disconnected from love. It's not a shared experience anymore, and there's no emotional safety at all. This completely shuts down any form of safety whatsoever. So if the anxious person on one side is more desperately craving validation and connection, and the avoidant partner is only paying attention to them and making eye contact, if that, during the bedroom, this is a recipe for absolute disaster. But we haven't even really got to the bad ones yet, okay? There's universal intimacy destroyers that many people, everyone can be doing. There are 3 more mistakes that destroy sexual desire regardless of your attachment style. And these 3 are the ones that couples think are actually helping. This is what couples do when they're trying to fix things that makes it so much worse. Mistake number 5, hot on the heels of the other 4, expecting sex to fix emotional disconnection. Many couples expect sex to solve the relationship problems. Sex will make him pay attention to me, or, I'll give her sex and shut her up. Treating sex like it's a painkiller. We'll just feel better after sex. Sex will make everything work. This turns intimacy into a band-aid for the deeper issues that got you there, rather than genuine connection and desire. And you know what's going to happen? One of you might have a cool, fun dopamine experience as you grind one out, and the other one goes, wow, that was really disappointing. The more disappointing sex you have, the more you form an aversion to it at all. This isn't just, we're not having sex. It's, I don't really think I want to have sex. And that's that disgust, the ick. That's where it really starts to die. Couples just try to do it. It doesn't go well. Queen Victoria was famous for telling her female subjects, close your eyes, think of England, and do your duty. That's not a recipe for building a good marriage. I know that a lot of the people watching this show right now have had attachment issues for their entire life. That's why I want to invite every single one of you to check out my attachment repair program. It just might be the jump that you need to go from insecurely attached and lonely and frustrated to fully secure, connected, and bonded in a great relationship like nothing you've ever felt before. Check out my website, adamlanesmith.com, for the attachment repair program. Now, mistake number 6 starts creeping in as the ick and the resentment grows. It's weaponizing your pain instead of sharing it. Instead of being able to say, hey, I'm sad, I'm lonely, I'm hurting. I feel sad that we haven't been able to have sex. I'm confused about our sex life. I don't know what you want, and I'd love to learn. Can we work on this? Instead of saying that, passive-aggressive comments, right? It's a husband and a wife watching a movie, and the wife makes a move and gives her husband a big hug or climbs on top of him, and the husband nudges his wife and goes, well, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Right? Passive-aggressive little comments like that, the side stabs. It's dodging real vulnerability by hardening your heart and hurting the other person, right? It's the wife watching a movie with her husband, and the husband does in the movie does something romantic, and she goes, yeah, I bet that guy's having sex tonight. Whoa. Great way, both sides, to make sure your partner never even watches a movie with you again, by the way. And as those passive-aggressive comments get worse and worse and worse, everybody begins to shut down, because now you're developing overwhelming pain and cortisol and anger and resentment. Even if before you were just lonely, now you're hurt and angry. This is weaponizing your pain against your partner. Now, a lot of times, all these 6 mistakes lead up to mistake number 7, scorekeeping in the bedroom. Tracking who initiated last time, keeping calendars of rejection, asking, why don't you want me the way I want you? There was one famous man on the internet, famous for having a spreadsheet of how many times in a year his wife said no. If you remember that, shout out to that. Man, Tracking your rejection from your partner, yes, it hurts. But if you're keeping obsessive score, it becomes a transactional experience and it creates heavy resentment and pressure. Look, I understand the instinct to protect yourself, but a marriage is not a place where people should have to protect themselves from each other. If that's even a thing, you've already failed at the beginning steps of marriage. Marriage should have emotional safety where you can talk to the other person. We'll talk in a moment about how to start reversing some of this, but getting here is not just, oh, whoops, I was anxious, he was avoidant, doomed. No, getting here is a long system of thousands of little choices that add up. And there is hope. There is hope. Now, there is one final mistake. Mistake number 8, bonus secret mistake. That's actually the root cause of all the others. And if you don't fix that one, you're going to keep falling into these destructive patterns no matter how hard you try to avoid them. Okay? And before I reveal the final mistake, I want you to understand something important. These 7 patterns, they don't just happen randomly. They're driven by your specific attachment styles. And each style has predictable ways of destroying intimacy. At the end of this video, I'm going to share a resource that shows you exactly how your attachment style is sabotaging your sex life and what to do about it. But first, let me show you the mistake that creates all the others. Now, the root cause mistake, number 8 or number 0, however you want to look at it, letting childhood wounds govern your sex life. Not fixing your attachment issues in childhood means letting your childhood wounds rearrange your entire sexual script. If your nervous system is used to chaos, freaking out, rejection, disappointment, performing, you're going to create those patterns inside your bedroom. This leads to all the other 7 mistakes because your nervous system drives you toward familiar dysfunction rather than healthy intimacy. Fixing those attachment issues protects you from falling into these destructive patterns because you're no longer operating from childhood survival mechanisms. Instead of the anxious person walking in and trauma dumping on their partner, they share and then ask in return and then share a connection moment. And then instead of feeling like they have to constantly get validation through sex, they feel like, let's share a fun experience, and sex is fun and flowing for both partners. Instead of the avoidant person walking in and only connecting in the bedroom, they're actually connecting everywhere, and they build to where the bedroom is a shared experience. And instead of outside being cold and detached and guarded, they're open and connected. And the emotional intimacy is even more fulfilling than the physical intimacy. They grow together. Now, when you do all of that, if there does hit a rough patch, instead of passive-aggressive comments, keeping score, being angry and resentful, you say, hey, something feels off. Does it feel off to you? Can we fix it? I want to work with you on this. Let's build a sex life that's fun. That's what fixing your attachment brings. It undoes all of these mistakes. Okay? Fixing those attachment issues protect you from falling into constant destructive patterns. You're no longer operating from survival. Now that you know all 7, 8 mistakes, understanding them isn't enough. You need to know how to reverse the damage and rebuild desire. So that's what we're going to show you here next. Now, the neurobiological damage here is pretty tough. These mistakes cause a lot of pain in your partner's brain. And first of all, it cuts off oxytocin production, that bonding hormone that actually creates most long-term sexual desire. And as you cut off oxytocin, you begin emotional starvation. Partners feel depleted rather than fulfilled. They pull in and contract in a sort of famine mode where they reserve their emotional calories, if you will. This then builds cortisol associations where your presence, as you begin hurting each other, triggers stress instead of pleasure. Now your partner, instead of, that's that person I adore, is, oh no, here they come again. Now this creates what we call unintentional wounding. Each of these mistakes creates wounding in the partner where you're further hurting each other, probably without meaning to. Their nervous system then starts associating you with pain, obligation, stress, sadness, rather than pleasure, safety, connection, joy. This is why just trying harder with the same behaviors makes things worse. Like we talked about in mistake number 5, having more sex, just doing it. No, you're reinforcing the negative associations deeper and deeper and deeper. So just have more sex isn't the answer here that you're looking for. First, We've got to stop the behaviors that are creating negative associations immediately. I come in with couples and I say, okay, what is hurting each one of you? Well, his passive aggressive comments. You, sir, if you want to continue this marriage, stop those behaviors immediately. I will show you how to speak to her about your concerns, your sadness, your hurt. But the passive aggressive comments, that died when you were 15 years old. How old are you now? 45? Stop. Don't do that unless you want a divorce. Okay, now what's hurting you? Well, it's when she looks at me and then looks disgusted. Ma'am, you need to stop the looks of disgust or the eye rolling, is another one, at your husband. This is destructive. You're not a 15-year-old girl anymore. How old are you? 45? Okay, that's in the past. That's got to be done. If you want a divorce, keep rolling your eyes at him and sneering at him. If you want to build a marriage, this is how you're going to have to treat each other going forward. Okay? Stopping those behaviors, saying this is what it will take. We will both agree to put down our guns and stop shooting at each other. As we stop the cortisol association, we stop the bleed, we at least stabilize the body. Okay? Next comes rebuilding desire. And this requires patience. You have to rewire the neural pathways away from, oh no, not that person, to, okay, I could do this, to, wow, I kind of want to, wow, I really want to. And it takes time and patience. Sometimes those pathways you're in, couples come to me at 30 years of marriage, and it's been 29 years of damaging pathways, and they get mad when they don't see results in one session. Okay, no, you got to be a little bit patient. I'm not talking years of rebuilding, but you have to be patient and caring with each other. Okay? Understand that it will take time to grow. Understand that it's going to take more than 5 minutes to have sex again and love it. Okay, it will take some time. And then next comes focus on creating positive experiences together with your partner's nervous system. Remember why you were attracted to each other in the first place. Rebuild that connection. Okay, vasopressin is really important for this. Vasopressin is the bonding hormone that says, you're my ally. I trust you. I care about you. It removes cortisol associations and replaces it with deep trust and connection. Now that inspires the desire for intense oxytocin bonding, which then drives sexual arousal in long-term relationships for men and women. So, hey, what is hurting us? How can we fix it? What can we do to build connection? What would make us thrive? Walking through a plan together and seeing the results and talking about them. This is not possible with insecure attachment style at the beginning. You have to learn these skills and then do them. As you build that together, you rebuild a loving, thriving sex life. That's how you do it. Okay, now you now understand a lot more about sexual intimacy than most couples learn, even in years of couples therapy. But knowledge without action is going to be worthless to you. So here's exactly what you need to do. Okay. If you recognize yourself in these mistakes, first, don't panic. These patterns developed as ways to seek love and connection. Your intentions were good, even if the results were destructive. Most people make these mistakes because no one ever taught them how to have healthy sexual intimacy in long-term relationships. Do you remember when your partner couldn't keep their hands off of you? That hungry look. That person is still in there. But right now, their nervous system has learned to associate you with obligation, stress, and emotional work instead of pleasure and desire. You didn't mean for this to happen, but every day that you continue these patterns, you're reinforcing those negative associations. You can get back to that place where they can't wait to touch you, where the passion feels effortless and natural, where you both feel desired instead of obligated. But it does require stopping these 8 mistakes and replacing them with behaviors that create the neurochemical conditions for desire to flourish again. Now, here's what I want you to do right now. I've created the most comprehensive marriage transformation system ever developed. It's called How to Build a Secure Marriage. This is a complete rewiring for your relationship's neurobiological foundation so that intimacy, trust, and passion happen naturally instead of feeling forced. Over 1,600 couples have used this system to transform their marriages from the brink of divorce to deeper connection than they had even during their honeymoon phase. In this course, you'll learn how to create the neurochemical conditions that your partner naturally becomes more available to you, more sexually interested, and genuinely connected to you without having to convince them or wait for them to change first. The link for that course is down in the description below. Get your copy now. Don't let another day pass making these mistakes when you could be building the secure, passionate marriage that you both deserve. I'm Adam Lane Smith, the attachment specialist. Thank you for joining me here today. It's an honor to be able to talk with you about this, and thank you for your trust. Please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, pick up your copy of that course, and come back for the next video. I'll see you there.